I'm Lacey J. I'm an entrepreneur who started a social media agency at age 22. Weird, I know. I've been niching it down and building it up over the last 11 years, and a long 11 years they have been. Being on social media so much is hard on my and my team's mental health, so we work to find routines, balance, and focus on ethics that keep us showing up authentically online. If you manage social media accounts and you feel confused, unfocused, or straight up wackadoo, welcome to the club. We meet here once a week. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am so happy to be here today, and extra happy because we've got a guest, Dalin Costello. Oh, doing a jig. Dalin is a Seattle-based photographer specializing in portrait, event, and street photography. On Instagram, you can find him Shots by Stello. That's Shots X Stello. I'm happy to have you here. How are you feeling about being here?
It's good. I'm feeling great. Like this is one of the things that, ever since when we talked about it like a month, I don't know, like three, almost a month ago now, where you were like, hey, I'd love to kind of talk about it. And I was like, oh, yeah, me too. Okay. let's do that. Because social media is going through so many changes almost daily. And
Always.
and I think that one of the ways that, we all can succeed at it is just having the conversation about it and being willing to share information.
Yeah, it was fun to find you. We brought on a new employee about, 8 months ago or so. And you must be connected with her because as soon as she came on, I saw you following our Spry social media channels and starting to comment. And so I followed you and I saw you're putting out reels almost every day. And then I saw you put a comment about how you were doing like a 30 reels in 30 days and tracking data. And I'm just a sucker for data, especially other people's data that I don't have to do the work to collect, but I can analyze. So I'm excited to analyze your data a little bit here. All right. So describe to me a little bit of what you did. What was your experiment or the study that you did with Reels on Instagram?
So I had, this was all in part of the process of going more like putting photography more at the forefront of kind of what I've been doing and what I want to do. And that goal towards it being that full-time career that I'm looking to kind of make it trying to make it, and social media, of course, being such a great medium to be able to kind of express yourself and also put yourself out there. Aside from like websites, it used to be make sure you have a website, and I do have one. However,
and optimize it for the search engines.
Exactly, SEO is so important, and so with it really came down to being like which platform did I want to kind of spend the first month or so kind of going all in on, to seeing just what kind of feedback I get, just what kind of content I can create based on what the platform provided. It came down to being about IG, and everything just seemed to be about reels. Reels.
Yes.
And
this summer it's just been hot all year. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I just dove in, just listening to like a lot of like social media folks like yourself, just everybody who has been doing the research, doing the, putting the data out there, and what makes, real successful, what makes a post successful, like what should we be doing right now. And so I was like, all right, I've got my notes. Let's see what happens. 30 reels, 30 days. Let's go. And so I put a couple out beforehand, just to kind of
test the waters, dip your toes.
The waters, even like look at the reel, the way that IG has theirs set up, and how you which is a lot different than it was like 5 weeks ago. I mean, it's got like the little transitions and stuff in there. They've made a lot of changes, and tested the waters just to make sure that I was kind of comfortable with it, get to know it, and then one reel a day for a month, and went in.
And what data points were you looking for when you were putting them out there?
I wanted to see about what kind of engagement I was getting based on what I was putting out. I wanted to see like how, if there was a way to determine, as far as days, times, like what would get me views, how important actually were the views,
That's such a good question. Ah.
but yeah, it was more about what how important really like are these views and going viral and versus like what actually gets you the reach and the engagement.
Mhm. Yeah, I almost feel like they're two different conversations. It's one of them is what kind of content gets you that kind of reach, that larger reach and engagement, and what kind of content actually gets people who are your potential customers to engage with you. They kind of are two. I haven't noticed that the overlap is so similar, that the posts that I put out that get the highest reach are not really the ones that end up creating conversations with people that are my customers.
Hmm.
It doesn't always work that way. So you kind of noticed that same thing where even some that had the most reach were not necessarily the ones that brought in new conversations with potential customers.
Yeah, the stuff that I was trying to like maybe say something with did have oftentimes would just have less like it just didn't
Mhm.
really, I mean, the views are there maybe, but just really didn't do anything versus I actually I ended up picking up a gig from someone who chose me because it wasn't even real. It was something earlier that I did like a couple of years ago. It's a picture of a duck I took at a playground. She was like, "That's a picture that I would take. I want to hire this guy." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" I was just posting. And so like posting with intention versus just posting to feed the algorithm, and it's like, wow, so when I didn't try, that's what worked. Okay. And
Mhm.
and that was something that I realized about these reels, because there are some really not great reels that just go wild, like just
Yes.
wildfire. And so that's like you have to, for like the perfectionist in a lot of us, you got to put some of that to the side, because it just, people do not care. Like they want relatable content, and they want things that they can kind of scroll and enjoy, and to not think about maybe what they currently have going on. And maybe it is that with some of that intentionality that we put out there about the conversation starters, that it's like, that has something to do with what I have going on. Where's
Mhm.
the cat videos? you know so
Yes. Uh-huh. The
yeah,
entertainment factor is huge, I think,
it's
right now on
very
social
huge,
media.
very, very huge. And TikTok brought in, I mean, the pandemic mixed with TikTok just brought in such a large, um, a large calling for just the ability to kind of forget and just be entertained. And
Let's talk about how your content creation process was.
hmm.
How difficult was it for you to actually do 30 reels in 30 days?
Well, typically I tried to keep 2 to 3 like plant drafts, you know what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
because for the days where I might not have felt like doing one, I had something that I could kind of put out there.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't a perfect science. I've found myself sometimes doing like little quick skit type reels, like maybe the morning of, like something that I just kind of thought about. One of the most important things that I did was I would just go to the reel section of Instagram and just scroll, and just see kind of what people were doing, what audios would spark an idea, and how to relate it to photography.
Mm.
Because I didn't want to just do something where I was doing the lip sync, but then had my camera in the background. Like, yeah, it's a photography reel. See my camera? Yeah, I
Like,
didn't
here
want
I
to do
am
that.
talking, and also I'm a photographer. You wanted the
Exactly. Right.
content
Right.
to speak to that.
I wanted it to match. I wanted it to be relevant to what I was doing, and so that kind of felt, because of the fact that it wasn't just whatever I felt like doing, that it had to be intentional, that it had to be purposeful. um that kind of had a little bit of difficulty to me.
Mm-hmm.
But it did, give me lots of creative spark.
Mm-hmm.
So lots of saved audios, and kind of going in those, but then determining that, oh, this audio is super saturated. It's got 100,000 reels on it already, or this audio isn't trending right now, or whatever. And then that conversation of like, do we use trending audio? Do you not? Do you use original audio? Do you not? And so I had to, as I went along, I learned, or just kind of came into focusing on just putting out what I wanted to put out,
Mm.
and in addition to maybe using a little bit of like training audio, that kind of thing, because it just, as you're learning, what how to figure out like all the different algorithms of Instagram. It's like, well, we like this, but we also like that. So could you do both things? And so
Maybe
it's like,
even
all
at the
right, all
same
right.
time.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, we love that. But yeah, a lot of the process was just trying to keep an open mind about what I was seeing, what I was hearing, and not because it can be easy to be like, that's dumb, but realize, actually, no, that I mean, if we could spin it, like, oh, this will work.
I
So yeah,
I like your conversation around whether you use trending audio, whether you kind of come up with something on your own, because I find that it's really difficult to maintain my sense of passion when I'm following. And that's
yeah,
what trending audio sometimes feels like. Is like I'm chasing. I'm
absolutely,
chasing and following what other people are doing, which is not as fun. Like it doesn't
yeah,
allow me to feel that sense of something coming out of me that's
sure,
original, that has passion behind it. So I battle that back and forth a lot, whether
yeah,
how much I give in to chasing because it's going to give me a few more thousand views versus something that I'm actually enjoying putting together and proud to put out. It's a
yeah,
tough conversation to have, and it is kind of yes and both. You
yes.
kind of have to have the both factor.
You do. It's there's a variety to it, and I think that you can, if you can kind of keep the right mindset about it. I mean, it can be fun. One of the things that there are, you start to get a following of folks who also are like-minded as far as make photography, videography, that kind of thing. You see some of them doing like maybe coming onto certain trends that photographers are using, and how much fun it seems like that maybe they had doing it. Is like, yeah, yeah, I'll get on that. And so
Hmm.
then you kind of join it. So I like those aspects of it where like you and your group of, I guess, work friends are
Digital
just,
work friends.
yeah, digital work friends are just deciding to kind of get in on a particular trend and like kind of be like, oh, I like yours. Oh, I see. I got to do another one. And so that can be motivating
I like that.
when you have a good circle, like folks in your circle that are just all expressing their creativity, like using that same thing. It's kind of like this one series of videos, this dance company called Steezy. They'll do three choreographers, one song, and they want the same song, and they each do their own choreography, and then they all watch each other and then just hype each other up. And I think
Mm.
that's been a really cool thing that has happened as well, which has led to a lot of collaboration and just a lot of good conversation, just with some new folks. And it makes you feel less alone, in this big, wide, massive world of social media.
Which is so interesting that the kind of original purpose or idea behind it is this sense of connection. And yet, especially as creators, we often feel this siloed
Right,
feeling that we're doing it on our own. So the
right,
opportunities to hype other creators up and really build each other up, I think, is one of the only ways that we can kind of make it through that silo.
exactly,
Hmm.
exactly.
Get
Agreed.
inspired by each other.
Exactly. Staying inspired is because burnout is real, and being and staying inspired really helps to kind of like balance like the length of time before maybe the next burnout, because it's going to happen. Burnout is going to happen.
Hmm.
And it always looks different for everyone. But I think that being inspired and remaining open-minded can really help to navigate those like troubled waters of when burnout does happen.
Okay, I want to get to a couple stats in a second, but
Yeah.
I am somebody who like I really like looking at my own face, and so editing my own videos of myself is kind of a joy for me. But like, how was it for you spending 30 days looking at your face all day, every day?
It's funny you say that, because you put out a story this morning, and it was
Yes.
it was just you for like 5 seconds,
Uh-huh.
basically good morning, and I was like, this just looks like she enjoyed just putting herself out there like that, and
And
that's
I
and
do. I
yeah.
watch I watched it. I watched my own story already 3 times this morning, and I'm like, "Oh God, I'm so cute."
But that's why you have to be, though, because I mean, yes, it's nice to have friends who will hype you up, but I mean, if you can't see yourself and be like, this is the content, I'm the content, you know,
Yes.
if you can't do that, then yeah, you gotta find that for yourself. And I actually have no problems
Hmm.
watching myself when I kind of put myself out there. I am definitely the most, like, if they had a list of like who watched something the most like repetitive times, it would
Yes.
be me.
Yes, you're your
I've
biggest fan.
I have seen stuff and I'm like, yo, this I am. I'm getting really good at this. And you know,
Yes.
some of the early stuff, some of the later stuff, I'm like, man, this is, have y'all seen this? This is really great. And I actually feel, and it's not even like a fake thing. Like it feels good to put that content out there and to have yourself be put out there and to watch kind of what you've done and the way that you may have watched other people and thought, man, that's really cool. Like if I could only like put myself into to do it, and then you do it and you're like, huh, I did it. I did it well, you know. And so yeah, I
Yes.
don't, I love it. I love it a lot.
Good.
And I
I
think
think you
that
have
it's
to.
important. You have to, you
Uh-huh.
really have to, if you're going to put your face out there, especially if you're doing something that requires your face. And not everything needs to have your face out
No.
there, but
Mm-hmm.
it definitely helps, you know, because
Mm-hmm.
there's a relatability, and people get to connect that brand and what you're passionate about like to you, and they get to watch you in it. And it's just a really beautiful thing. I know that photographers have there've been a lot of issue with the way that things have changed on Instagram. And but having this, I mean, this really has just been an opportunity. It's been a huge opportunity to just expand beyond being somebody that like takes amazing pictures into now creating like this kind of new art form that some folks have gone really cinematic with it, which is incredible. So I say embrace it, embrace it.
Low key, my favorite one of yours in that 30 days was that like video game one where you're like this
Ah,
and
yeah,
you're
choose your photographer.
yeah, that was I
I'm
loved that one.
I'm working on the second part. I think I'm gonna try and put it out next week. But yeah, that's
All
one
right,
of my
I'll look for
favorites.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at the numbers a little bit here. So, in the 30 days that you did this, you ended up with about 56 new followers. Now, how does that, is that correct? That's what I see on here.
Sorry. That was for say the last 30 days or so. I
Oh, okay.
actually
Mm-hmm.
the 30-day real experiment that I did actually more than doubled my follow count. So I actually went up
Wow.
about 311 followers that I
Oh,
got.
dang. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because I started it in July,
Mm-hmm.
like about mid July, and it went to about mid August, and in that time period, I doubled my follower count.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It's a great way to get yourself going.
yeah, no, it's a really great kickstart, and especially if you're willing to kind of really browse Instagram and you know via its hashtags and kind of see who's around with you locally, and continue to immerse yourself in what the changes continue to be, because it felt like that July August Instagram was just like, yeah, here's a never mind, here's a you know what, here's a new change. You know, it was so constant. And I would talk to people like, hey, do you have the little trending arrow on your audio yet? You don't have that? Yeah, I've got like an arrow. and
Uh-huh.
and so everybody was just discussing like what was new and what wasn't new, and then listening to homeboy have his new post talking about Instagram, trying to be transparent, whatever that meant for Instagram. And so you know, it's like, I mean, I guess I don't know, there could be things they're keeping from us, I don't know. But yeah, it was a really great kickstart, and kind of, you know, it's kind of like producing that habit. And
Yes.
it was a really great way to also produce the habit and just make it a part of the daily lifestyle of keeping it in mind, because
Mm-hmm.
it's more than just about like kind of posting the content. Like I want it to be a part of like how I create this lifestyle that I want, you know, and as far as my career goes. So yeah, it was fun. It was hard, but it was fun.
Okay, the three highest viewed reels that you had were one that you titled Wait for the Beat Drop, one titled 3:14 a.m., and one Portraits in Beyonce. So those three had significantly more views than the rest of yours. Can you uh, see why those were? What were the reason that those performed and got
So
so much more reach?
they all were so they all had to do with songs. They
Okay.
weren't like verbal like audios, you know.
Okay. Like you weren't
So they're
lip
all
syncing
songs.
anything or.
Exactly, they weren't
Hmm.
lip syncing. They also had, I think that there was the one that was the hook, wait for the beat drop, you know, wait for it
Hmm.
type of thing. And transitions.
Mm.
Transitions were really big, especially on the Portraits in Beyonce was like 3 days after Beyonce had just no, like a day or so after Beyonce had just dropped.
Okay. So high
And
relevancy.
high
Everybody's talking about
relevancy.
it.
Exactly. So that was able to, you know, and I used for that one, I had used a couple of Beyonce hashtags,
Mm.
which I think were really, really good. When I checked because what I'll do sometimes after a couple of days, I'll go and check the hashtags to see if they show up on the top page.
Okay.
And sometimes that'll happen for some, and it did for this one. Um, the and so yeah, transitions, doing things on beat. Like people love when it happens like on beat. Same thing with the
Yes.
lip syncing. And if the transition that goes into like the big reveal is something that's, if the payoff is nice, that kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. Because I know that there's, Instagram sees it as like, if they watch it for 3 seconds is one thing, if they watch the whole thing is another thing, if they
Yes.
save
And
it it's another thing.
oh, yes.
And so yeah, between those three, it was the music, the transitions being right on cue, and that 3:14 a.m. was kind of like a little mini movie,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of folks tended to like that one, and I think that it had a really good reveal. So the reveal is really really important.
Okay, so that tells me that, it maybe has less to do with choosing the most trending audio and maybe a little
Mm.
bit more to do with how much effort you're putting into the production overall, meaning that you're editing it with those transitions and really thinking about entertaining the people.
Yes, and then
Uh-huh.
I have a before I'd started tracking everything. One of the ones that I did in the initial 30 actually had about 27,000 views,
Oh.
and it was just a lip sync audio. The it was yeah. How often do you think about photography? And it was basically me going all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Twenty
And
six
that's
thousand
it.
views. 26,000 views.
So
Just that.
interesting.
Like I'm just looking at my all the time,
Uh-huh.
and that was
And
it.
so that took you, less than 5 minutes to
To
shoot.
make. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Versus like the 3:14 a.m. one took me hours because I had to get up that morning, pack it,
Mm-hmm.
like remember to like don't forget to record some of this, don't forget to record some of that, and just be so intentional with it. That I was like editing it and putting it together because I was like, oh, I'll just put it out the same day. And I mean, so literally about 13 hours of work just to post that versus something that I did in about 5 to 10 minutes, 27,000 views. Now I
Mm-hmm.
do enjoy, I'm fine with the 8,000 or so that has gotten, but 27,000 views, I'm in my kitchen all the time. 27,000 views. You kidding me? So it's like playing the slot machines
It
sometimes,
is.
you know?
Uh-huh. There's so much luck involved.
There is like with your days, with your time. I mean, I had looked up, and the whole research thing where they're like Tuesdays are really good days, Wednesdays are like excellent days, like that kind of thing. Those are my average days. My best days were the days that the internet said were the worst days, which is like Friday and Saturday, you know?
And did you notice, I don't know if you kept track of this data point, but did you notice the time that you published and whether that made a difference or not?
I initially started to post because I was like, all right, well maybe if like am I able to, if I post, based on East Coast time, will
Mm-hmm.
that will that reach them in their peak time or not?
Mm-hmm.
And I've what it kind of came down to is like I don't think that it mattered because I even had posted like at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning thinking like let's see if India's up, like what's going on, and it didn't. I don't think it mattered. It was more about IG had said follow your insights, follow your specific insights, and we'll take it from there, And so I just decided to do that. Plus, waking up at like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning as part of this experiment was just not the move for me. So just like to break sleep, just to post a thing. Um, I think that the only thing that I feel like that mattered with the time was if your insights told you that peak was at 9 o'clock, I would probably release 15 to 20 minutes
Okay.
prior to that,
Mm-hmm.
so that it kind of gets a little warmed up, gets out there, for folks that because if the algorithm feels like that, oh, they like your content, so we're gonna put them first as soon as they come on. Maybe there's some folks that it's not the case, but when they scroll, there I am. Give it a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
scroll. So yeah, that was probably the biggest thing. The times where I just stuck to the insights, and most of it was really usually between like 9 a.m. and 12 p.m. like Pacific time, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, cool, I'll just do that, and then see where everything land. A couple of like a few afternoon ones, but it's usually the morning.
My brain just immediately went into, and why is that? And I think my immediate answer is, why
Mm.
are hashtags still effective on Twitter? Likely because of the character count, right?
Mm,
You can't spam hashtags on Twitter the same way that you can
can
on
on
Instagram because of
right.
character count
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's extremely true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But then
Okay.
even on Instagram, what is it? Like you can only do what, 30, 32 hashtags
Yeah,
max
but
in a
what
set?
even matters now? I mean, like almost nothing. I noticed when I was publishing this week that there is a new field in the publish page
Mm.
that says topics. and it has like a hashtag next to it, and it's like a place where you can select topics, almost like in place of putting hashtags into your content. So look out for that. If you see that on your published page, I'd love to know that. It brand new popped up on mine this week, and I'm going to start experimenting with it a little bit.
Do you know who actually was doing that already?
Who?
Vero.
Ah,
Vero
see?
is already doing that. Yeah.
Well, it's smart. I come
Yeah.
from my background in SEO, and so, you know, I played the game of keywords and a keyword tag on each website page until it didn't work anymore. And so I've never been enchanted by the idea of hashtags on Instagram because
Yeah.
it just seemed exactly like that spamming.
Yeah.
So I don't know, I'll be interested to see what the topics does with Instagram posts.
I'm wondering if they will end up doing a thing, because one of the things that Vero also does is when you post the picture, it takes, I guess their program looks at the picture, and then their topics that they suggest are based on what they see in the picture. And so they're like, hey, these you should use these. We're just giving you some hints, you know. So I'm sure Instagram will go there at some point as they're figuring out, you know, like, well, what's the, like, you know, again, that sweet spot, eight hashtags or 3 hashtags or 10 hashtags or all 30 hashtags, you know, so, and really the answer is,
Who cares? That's how I feel
just
about
do
it right
you
now.
just press public, just press send.
Experiment.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Dalin, thank you so much for sharing that data and your
Absolutely.
experience with me. I appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Hey, if you're looking for ways to build your foundational social media strategy skills, we've got a course for that. I worked with Adrian Harvey, who's the lead digital strategist at Spry, has a master's in digital media, and has worked in digital marketing for over 10 years to create this course. The course is called Social Media on Purpose, and it takes all of the lessons we've learned over our combined 24 years in the industry and distills them down into bite-sized lessons for you to enjoy. If you're interested, check it out at thinkspry.com/courses. Also, we're kind of cute and funny if that's important to you. Okay, before I let you go, though, Dalin, I would love to know something that positively impacts your mental health. I think especially as those of us who work on social media so much, we are exposed to so much stimulus and so much
Sure.
drama. And it's so important for us to be able to kind of turn ourselves and our attention back towards ourselves and work on the things that help sustain us. So what's something that you do that really benefits your mental health?
I'd say there are probably three things.
Okay.
Probably maybe a fourth bonus one, but surprisingly, water. Drinking water.
That's not surprising. We're 60% water.
Right.
Like,
But like there's something about taking a moment to, because there's so many delicious beverages out there that like water sometimes feels like it's just like water. And so sometimes I drink water. It's the way that it kind of cleans out the body. I've felt that it also gives my mind a little bit of a rinse as well as I'm just kind of drinking it. So I try to keep water kind of throughout my day. I'm always like kind of carrying it around. Of course, to rest, like intentional, like rest without your phone, rest, like not getting in bed and then looking at your phone, but like it's bedtime type
Amen.
of rest, you know, going to bed. And if you're going to look at your phone outside of bed, then go to bed and then
that's super smart.
and then just get rest. I know that that like folks, I have an iPhone, so like Apple was like, yeah, we've now made the screen easier for to look at night when you're into bed. It's like, okay, you're making it worse, but I mean, thanks, but also it's worse. But
Okay, that's perfect. What's 3?
so 3, grounding, being when I'm out and you think about kind of taking pictures of things and taking video of things and like, oh, this could be content, putting the phone away and just kind of smelling, feeling, touching, seeing, like, and thinking like, what am I, and not just smelling, touching, feeling it, but identifying it, and you're like, what am I smelling, what am I touching, what am I feeling, how does it make me feel,
That's beautiful.
like, in that moment, and just completely grounding ourselves in the world that we're always trying to capture, and just separating myself from it, and just not having my phone out, and because it's easy to just walk around with our phone in our hands.
Smart.
And so yeah, just the ground. Oh, what is that? What does that smell? Oh, what is? Is that barbecue? I love barbecue. You know, barbecue
too.
reminds me of, and then just like, oh, barbecue reminds me of this, and then it grounds you, and it just puts you in it centers you. That's the word. It really centers you, and kind of helps you to remember that life is just so much more than what we publish.
Okay, so give me the frosting on the top then. What's the fourth bonus?
Honestly, video games. I can't, like, nothing like being able to just put myself into another world and not think about whatever else that I have going on. It's really easy to do, and like after a couple of hours, it's like, that was nice to not have to think about. So yeah, never underestimate the power of a good video, like Animal Crossing. Jesus. So yeah.
All right, I support that. I'm not a video game player myself. I will unwind by watching old seasons of Survivor.
There you go. Okay.
So that's
see somebody
that's
with
my
like
candy.
more stress than you. Like, I need to see somebody else deal with things that I'm not dealing with.
Yeah, it's the human spirit on display. That's what I like. You know, you got to prevail through.
Absolutely.
Through.
The power of the will.
Amen.
Yeah.
All right, Dalin, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for your time, and I'm excited to see what you do.
Thank you. Me too.
Social Media with Lacey J is brought to you by Spry Social Media Marketing. Edited and produced by Chad Hinman, and executive produced by Lacey J. Fott.